Said I need to dehydrate some peppers, so I need about 18 for my dehydrator. So I like to pick all different colors. Nice.
We got some good red ones behind you.
Yeah. When I dehydrate, I like my food to be colorful. So I have the yellow, the purple, the light green, and the reds. And with the sweet frying peppers, I have the two different kinds, and they turn red and yellow. And this is a new pepper that I grew this year. This one right here. They're smaller peppers. It's called Prism. And on the plant you get the claudette because you get so many different colors on the plant all at once. So I haven't decided yet if I like them that much that I'm going to keep them for next year. So we'll see. How's that for a size of a pepper?
What's that guy?
My dehydrator is a 6 tray dehydrator. So this should be plenty for that. So here's what we harvest today. Today's Sunday the 2nd of September. Cherry tomatoes are in the house already, and I will start processing this. Alright, so I got all my peppers harvested yesterday. We made some roasted cherry tomatoes, and we also made sauce. Now I'm getting ready to dehydrate my peppers. So if you haven't dehydrated, or even if you have and you just need to have a reference book, this book right here, The Beginner's Guide to Dehydrating Food, is a very nice little book. It also gives you pictures of what everything looks like when it's dehydrated. So we're doing peppers. It tells you how to cut them up. Then it will tell you what temperatures and about how long it takes. I found out when they say 6 to 10 hours for peppers, I find that's not true. Whatever they tell you, probably more time than that. So you have to go by what it's supposed to be at the end. It all depends on how much humidity you have in your house. So if you have a lot of humidity, if it's really hot, it's going to take longer. In the wintertime, it takes a shorter amount of time. But it's a very nice book. It shows you exactly how you cut them, and this is what it looks like. So it's really nice to have a guide to show you what it's supposed to look like at the end, especially if you're not used to dehydrating. So how I do my peppers is I cut the tops off. Oh, I have 6 trays in my dehydrator. I'll show you my dehydrator when we put the trays in. But you can use any kind of dehydrator you like. And if you don't have a dehydrator, if you get that book, it also tells you how to do things in the oven. I always have a discard bowl and my bowl, and that way I can just throw everything in here. Try to get the seeds out. I always cut the tops and the bottoms off, and then I cut them in half. Then I like to cut the pieces into the size pieces that I'm going to use when I'm cooking. This is about the size I like to use when I'm cooking. And then you just stick them on the tray and you spread them out because you want some airflow. You don't want to pile them up because then they won't dry out. And you can take the membrane off because that's the bitter part of the pepper. So you really don't want that in there, but it won't hurt anything. Cut them up. Put them on your tray. Now I use in my dehydrator these sheets. It makes it so the peppers don't stick on the metal trays or anything, especially like tomatoes or anything that's really wet. Otherwise it will stick to the metal tray and it'll be really hard to get off. When you have it on here, even when it sticks on here, you can just bend it and then they come right off. And then when these get dirty, I just stick them in a little bowl, you know, my sink with some bleach and clean them up. Alright, so another way that I cut the peppers up, which make it makes it a lot easier on me is I have my Vidalia Chop Wizard, which is not just for onions. It comes with two size blades, the larger blade and the smaller blade. So I usually, if I'm in a hurry or if I have a lot of peppers to do, I just use this blade. You just stick it in here, and then what I do is I cut my pieces into sizes like this, stick it in here, and then I can just chop. And then once this is full, I can put them on my tray. But then you can do all your peppers, put them into pieces, and then chop them up in a Chop Wizard if you have one of these. If not, this is a lifesaver for many things. This is great for onions. That's why I guess it's called the Vidalia Chop Wizard. Or you can just do it manually like this. But it is easier just to stick it in here, chop it down, all these little pieces. And then when I do my hot peppers, I use a smaller dicing. Because I like hot peppers, but I don't like big chunks of hot peppers. Then once you fill your tray up, like I said, you spread them out and you leave some air. As they start to dry, if they're not spread out enough, if you put too much on, you can just go in the air and move them around. Because they're going to shrink up really tiny. You're going to be amazed how tiny they are. So once I do that, I just leave that there. I put my metal tray on top. Continue on to my next tray. And this holds 3 cups. I was just emptying it early just to show you. But I usually wait till it's all full. When I'm doing like a stir fry and I want longer pieces, then I cut my peppers into longer pieces like this. You can even do them longer than this if you want. And cut them the other way. You can just do that. And then you can have bigger pieces. Now these bigger pieces are definitely going to take longer, which is fine. When the other ones are done, you take out the other ones and you just leave these in there. Alright, so these are my sweet frying peppers. I cut them a little bit differently. And I do keep these all in separate jars, and how I store them is I put them in canning jars. I'll show that when I take them out of the dehydrator, and I'll explain all that. But I like these in little bigger pieces than the cubes that we did first. So I just cut these like this, and then I cut them in little fatter pieces like this. So really you can do whatever you want on how you cut them. You just have to follow the guidelines of what it's like when it's dry. There should be no moisture in them whatsoever. Now, like I said, I'll explain all that when we take them out of the dehydrator also. Alright, now on to the last one. Now my hot peppers, these are the Hungarian wax. They're not that hot, but they're hot enough that I'm going to put gloves on because sometimes I forget and then I touch my eye and then I have a burning eye. So with these, I cut the tops off like that, and then I cut them down lengthwise. And the hottest part of any hot pepper is the seeds. So I take my little tomato core and I just go like this, and I take off the seeds and the membrane that's inside. That's the hottest part of the pepper. And I do them 2 ways. I like these real thin but long, like this. for certain meals. Peppers rehydrate really easy, and I will show you that when we take them out of the dehydrator. For some foods I like to use it this way, and then I have other foods where I just want little tiny pieces. And that's when I use this. It's my Vidalia cutter, but I put on this small blade. So now I just stick it on here. You just have to make it in here. If not, you can just cut it. If you don't have one of those, you just cut it to whatever size you want. I'm just showing you how I do it. So these are all finished. Nice. See how small they are? And when they come out of the dehydrator, they are even a lot smaller than that. That's why you have to have these little trays on, otherwise they'd fall right through the metal racks. You can just spread them out. And definitely don't mix up your hot peppers with your regular peppers when you're putting them away. Alright, so that's that. Then I just pick these all up. My dehydrator's in the other room, because it does make whatever room you're in hot, so I don't do it in this room. I'll take you in there and I'll show you the dehydrator. Alright, so I have my trays. I have my Kasuri dehydrator. It fits 6 trays. It has a digital screen. So you just stick them in. Remember that your bigger pieces might take a little longer. Here's my nice long pieces. Just close it. Temperature, we want it to 125. And they say 10 hours. It's not going to take 10 hours. So you just sit it longer than you think, and that way you don't forget about it. I'm going to come back in 10 hours. I'm going to check it. The small ones might be done, but I doubt it. So it's probably going to take about 18 hours. So then you just hit start. It comes on, and that's it. We'll see you back when it's all finished. Alright, I took my peppers out of the dehydrator. I let them cool, but you don't let them cool too long because you don't want them to absorb the moisture in the air. And then you just, sometimes they stick a little. That's what's nice about these little mats. And they come right off. And you can hear how nice and dry they are. You have to make sure you cool them off and then test them for how much moisture is in them. If they flex a lot, then they have moisture and you have to put them back in the dehydrator. So I'll take off, the regular peppers are about the same size. I put them all in the same tray and then I stick them in a jar. I put them in canning jars. You can put them in Ziploc bags or airtight container. One of the reasons I like canning jars is because I have this vacuum sealer here. And if it's for long-term storage, then I like to vacuum seal them. This is a longer one, so I'm going to put this in a different jar. So I'm going to move this to the side. So I usually put them on a tray to see how much I have. If I need a quart jar, or if I'm going to need pint jars. These ones are the sweet frying peppers. So I'll put them in their own separate jar, just so I can keep them separate. Now they will fit in this jar, but you don't want to pack it tight. You need it to have some space so they can move around. So I think I'm going to put these in my quart jar for now, because I know I'm doing more. So I'm going to easily fill this jar up. So once I have them, You put them in your jar. If you're not going to use them long term, you can just put one of these nice lids on here. I take my canning lid, put it on, and my vacuum sealer, you can buy accessories. This is a food saver thing for jars. And, oops, got a lid in there from last time. So you put it on, you stick this right over it. Now they have all kinds of kits. You don't have to have a big food saver vacuum. They sell little kits that just use batteries. They have all different kinds. They even have a pump one that you can do manually. So you just stick that in there, turn it on. It's going to be loud, so I'll try to. You listen for the pop. Hear the pop? Okay, then you just take that off. Remove this. Now this is sealed on here. I can't get it off unless I stick like a little knife or something and pry it up. Now once you have your peppers or whatever you're dehydrating in an airtight container, you need to condition it for the week. Every day you have to take it and rotate it and shake it around. You have to make sure and look that there's nothing sticking together. If there is, you need to take it out and put it back in the dehydrator. If you just leave it there and there's any moisture in there, things will stick together and you'll get mold. So you have to condition it for a week. Just make sure that nothing's sticking together. And like I said, don't overpack it. I'm going to show you my tomatoes. These are tomatoes I did a few weeks ago. They're dehydrated. Now I will either use this, I can soak this in water, hydrate them. I can put them on pizza. You can do anything you want with them. They're like sun-dried tomatoes almost. You can even take them out, hydrate them, and then put them in oil if you want. Or, I've told you in the past that I like to do the powdered tomatoes. So with the tomato powder, I don't make a whole bunch of tomato powder. I make it as I need it, because that doesn't stay as long as whole pieces of tomato. And like I said, I conditioned this already, especially with tomatoes. You got to make sure that they don't stick together. This one's good. I'll also show you, these are potatoes from last year. These are nice that you can just hydrate. You can put them in soups, stews. You can even fry them up. I've done it where I hydrated them, and then I hydrated my peppers and some onions, and you can just fry them up in a frying pan with some olive oil. Now I will tell you that they do taste a little different than fresh, but if you run out of potatoes and you need them, they're really good. Now the peppers and onions, they taste nice fried up. They taste good in stews, soups. Potatoes taste great in soups and stews. So there's all different kinds of things you can do with all these. If you do get that Dehydrating beginner's book, and they have more, they have so many things online too that you can look up for recipes for dehydrator meals. A lot of people put meals together and then you just can make a meal out of it easily. I made soups, the tomato soup out of this, and I added my tomato powder, and I made a really nice thick tomato soup with the potatoes. I didn't put the peppers. I put celery and onions and carrots, all dehydrated, and it was delicious. So in the wintertime, you can have your own vegetables and make some nice soups and stews, and so many different things you can do. You can make scalloped potatoes. You can layer them in casseroles. There's all different kinds of things you can do with them. And it's a good way to preserve your garden. This is the sweet frying peppers. Like I said, I will put this in this jar. Now I have a lot of peppers in my garden, so that's why my jars are not full now. But they will get more in there as we go. So right now I'm just going to put a regular lid on, because I know in the next few days I'm going to be adding more to this jar. Here are my regular peppers that I sliced long. Like I said, I like to use these in like Chinese stir fries or even regular stir fries, steak and peppers. There's so many different uses for these. It's hard to go over them just in a short little video, but it's a really nice way to preserve your food. I've also freeze peppers and onions very well. The only thing is, a few years ago we had that hurricane, and we were without power for, I don't know, 7 days I think. And we have a portable generator, but I did lose some of the things in my freezer because you can't keep the portable generators going forever. And vegetables are the things that defrost the quickest in the freezer. So I really like to preserve it where I don't have to rely on electricity. I don't want to have to go away on vacation and something happened and I come back and my freezer is ruined and then all my gardening work is down the toilet. So that's my other peppers. But you just write what's on here. Bell peppers and 923. And these labels are nice because they are dissolvable. So I can take this jar, don't worry about the label, stick it in the dishwasher, and the label will just disintegrate and be off. You don't have to worry about peeling it and scrubbing it off. They're nice little labels. You don't have to use these. You can just use tape. And then last but not least, these are my hot peppers, so I don't want to get them mixed up. These are my Hungarian wax. And if you remember, I put them through the Vidalia Wizard on that little small little setting, and look how small they are. So when you dehydrate, things get really tiny. And then I sliced up the other ones in little slices. So normally I would do one whole tray of the longer ones and one tray of the smaller ones. But for showing you guys, and I didn't have a lot in the house, I just did it together. I don't remember how many peppers, I think that was like 6 to 8 peppers. And look how nice they fit in this little tiny space. But like I said, it's always good to label because 3 months down the line, for some reason I might forget. And I think that's basically it. Now, if you don't have a food saver and you don't have canning jars, you can definitely put them in any kind of airtight container. You can put them basically in anything. But the more airtight they are, the longer they're going to last. Oh, and I did start hydrating a couple. I just put these into water. I would say they're pretty quick. A half hour to an hour in warm water. This is a dehydrated one. And this is the one I'm hydrating. See, it's already almost double the size. And it will get a little bit bigger. It's not fully hydrated yet. And the thing you need to remember when you hydrate dehydrated food is it's not going to have the same texture as fresh vegetables. No matter what you do, it's not going to have the same texture. I'm not saying it's worse, but it's just not the same. Now, if you like something like fried potatoes with peppers and onions in it, and you fry up your potatoes, and then you just take these peppers and just throw them on top, they're not cooked, so they're going to taste raw. You have to cook them if you want them to be like sauteed peppers and onions. So you have to hydrate them, drain them, and then saute them, however you do it, either in olive oil, regular oil, butter, however you do your cooking. There are some recipes in that book that I showed you. There's also other books that just do using dehydrated vegetables. There's lots of resources out there. I hope I remembered to show you everything. If I didn't, and you have a question, please ask. So that's it for dehydrating peppers. That's how I do it. I hope you liked the video, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.